Hello and welcome to my F1 24 driver career. I'm here today for part 36 and round 2 of the 2026 Formula 1 season. We're here in Japan, but we're into qualifying now as we come up to the line. And our first one is absolutely shocking. So we went again on the same set of tyres and we found a second as we go into the final chicane. Just looking to try and get a good exit here, have a little wobble. Now we go around that little kink and that moves us up into P4. Good lap that one. Now we come to the end of qualifying. We've found another 2 attempts though we've dropped down to P11. Now we come round the final corner up to the line and that's going to move us up into P7.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who will start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Fernando Alonso, Hamilton, Oscar Piastri, Brown, Russell, Albon, Gasly, Tsunoda, Perez, Ocon, Sainz, Stroll, Joe, Ricciardo, Sargent, Bottas, and Nico Hülkenberg rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. The formation lap gets underway then, and it's going to be interesting today to see how the dry conditions could affect the lifespan of the tyres. As the cars make their way back to the starting grid to form up and get ready for lights out, let's hope the race ahead today is a thrilling one that will go down as a memorable Grand Prix in the history books.
Here we go then, for the Japanese Grand Prix. Can we finally get some points on the board? We're racing here in Japan. We've got quite a lot of wheel spin though, but the second phase of the start is great. We've beat the McLaren into turn 1. Now there's Hamilton and Alonso side by side, and we're going to go clean all the way around the outside of both of them. The contact between Hamilton and Alonso there was some sparks. Now they're side by side. As we go through the S's, Alonso just gets his nose ahead. Hamilton trying to get his nose back ahead, and he does. Alonso still there on the outside. The two greats of the sport going wheel to wheel, but eventually Alonso has to back out as we were starting to pull away. Now we're on the back of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, but we're a little bit too far back. It's a great start from us. We've gone from P7 up to P4. And we're right on the back now of this battle of Leclerc and Norris, as Leclerc tries to go around the outside of Lando and Norris. We were just biding our time trying to find a way through. Lando gets his nose back ahead, so does Leclerc. They're side by side through the S's. It's just like Hamilton and Alonso. Leclerc gets his nose ahead. We're all over the back of this as Lando gets a better exit. Leclerc's going to push him wide and open the door for us to go steaming through and past the McLaren of Lando Norris and on to the podium as Max leads the Grand Prix and has disappeared up the road. Now, can we get Charles Leclerc as we go up towards the hairpin? We're going to go for the lunge down the inside. Can we get the exit? We've lost the rear, and that's kept Leclerc in front. This is our perspective now of the Leclerc-Lando fight. We nearly get round the outside of Lando, but he gets a great exit and goes alongside Leclerc. Now we were just trying to find any little gap we could to try and find a way past these two. Trying to get them both at the same time, trying alternate lines, trying to find a way through, and then when Leclerc pushed Lando, it just opened the door for us to go straight through. Whilst we were watching Leclerc and Lando, Fernando Alonso finally got past the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton. Bided this time in the first couple of laps, but it's job done for him. Leclerc now, it's got a small gap as Lando is going to come back at the inside of us Is he going to keep it pinned into 130R? We've held it round the outside. Lando does lift as we go into the final chicane. If we can get a good exit here, we may have a go at Leclerc down into the first corner, but it looks like we're more going to be defending Lando Norris into turn 1. Lando's alongside us. Can we keep it pinned around the outside? Yes, we can. We're still there on the outside, and we are still just about ahead of the McLaren of Lando Norris, as Alonso is starting to join the fight now after overtaking Lewis Hamilton on lap 4. We're on lap 8 now. We've caught the back of Leclerc. We're biding our time with this one. We're getting closer and closer. We can't get into turn 1, so we're going to have to get creative. Down the inside at the hairpin. It's job done on Leclerc. It didn't work earlier on in the race. This time though it does. Now, have we got the pace to get down the road and after Max Verstappen? That is the question. I feel like we may have, but the DRS is very powerful around here, especially on this game. It's so hard to break it, so we'll have to bide our time and see what happens. But Leclerc isn't going to go away, and he's doing what Lando tries to do. Up our inside, Lando's also going for it. We're side by side through 130R, and we somehow stay ahead of the Ferrari. There's a lock-up in the background for Fernando Alonso. It's now out of the final corner. He may be a sitting duck here. We're going to try and defend the middle of the track. Leclerc goes to the outside though, and he's back past us. Leclerc's through. Now Lando's on the inside. Lando might be through as well. We try and hold it round the outside, and we keep the McLaren behind, but we lose out once more to the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, and all those laps of grinding to try and find a way past of all for nothing, because he's got us back, but we're still right in his gearbox, and we're going to go for it down the inside at the chicane. There's contact with Leclerc, but we are through, and we've got a bit of a breather now from the Ferrari going down the inside at the chicane, as Lando now has a good run on Leclerc. He nearly got him earlier on in the race, but he locks up at turn 2. Second attempt to try and get the Ferrari. It goes wrong again for Lando Norris. He's dropped like a stone into the path of Lewis Hamilton. Big lockup by Lando as Leclerc re-overtakes us once again, but he's ran wide, and we're going to sneak back up the inside of him at turn 2. Alonso now right in the battle. Max is just disappearing up the road, and we keep Leclerc behind once again. Now as Leclerc goes so late, he goes very late down the inside at 130R, but he backs out of it. Alonso now is really eyeing up a move to try and get both of us here. Lap 12, we ran the final corner. Now Leclerc is going to be on us, and so is Fernando Alonso, as Lando's starting to close in again. Leclerc goes to the inside. We may be double teamed here. Alonso thought about the outside, but Leclerc is back through again. We just can't break the DRS. We just can't get away. And Leclerc, we haven't been close enough to have a go maybe into the chicane. But at the end of lap 13, we're going to pit to make our one and only stop of the day. If everything goes to plan, if there's no late safety car or anything as well. So the medium tyres go off, the hard tyres will go on.
That was a good turn,
and we'll just see what happens in the second stint of this race. A lot of cars have followed us in. So has Lewis Hamilton in his Ferrari. He's been beaten out by the Mercedes of his former teammate George Russell. But now let's get the hammer down. Let's see if we can put some distance between Alonso and Leclerc, break that DRS, and hopefully get away. As now, one lap later, Leclerc and Alonso are both into the pits. As Leclerc tyres go off, it's very, very slow for Leclerc. Ferrari have had a shocker as that front left tyre didn't want to go off. Alonso's had his stop. It's brutally slow for Charles Leclerc. He's dropped back. He's lost out to Lando as well. Alonso now, where are we? We're coming down the pit straight. Are we going to beat Alonso into turn 1? Alonso's done us, but we've got the momentum to go back round the outside of our teammate. And now Alonso is all over the back of us. Leclerc's jumped from P3 to P9 just because of that pit stop, as Alonso takes us then for P2 in this race. And really, we haven't got the pace of Alonso. We're just about sticking in his DRS in the early phase of this final stint in the race. Can he drag us along up to Max Verstappen? Maybe. As now this is Piastri, got George Russell all over the back of him. As into the final chicane, he's locked up as well. Both McLarens having lockups in this race. Is there some sort of brake issue with them? But he's opened the door there for George Russell to run through, as our former teammate Alex Albon's Mercedes engine in the back of that Williams has gone bang. And it's game over with just a couple of laps to go for Albon, as he's really gone far on his engine that's smoking, but he finds somewhere to pull off. There's not going to be a late VSC or safety car, as now we skip on to the penultimate lap, and we just couldn't live with Alonso's pace. He's pulled 3.5 seconds on us, but we had good pace to the McLaren behind George Russell, and we're about 3.5 seconds up the road. But this man, Max Verstappen, dominated in Japan yet again, and he rounds the final corner to win in Japan. Fernando Alonso will come home to finish in P2 as he rounds the final chicane around the final corner. Fernando Alonso will finish P2. It's going to be a double podium as we finish P3.
You've heard this one before. Max Verstappen takes the victory.
And that's 2 wins in a row now. It's the start of potentially something special, but they can't get ahead of themselves just yet. It's a long way to go.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They've performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everyone at the team.
So that's been your Japanese Grand Prix won by Max Verstappen. Another dominant drive for him this season. 2 from 2 for him as well. Good weekend for us as a team. 2-3. Maybe if he didn't have had that big battle with Lando and Leclerc in the early stages, maybe we could have got Max. Still good result. A great comeback after Bahrain. George was P4. Piastri P5, Lando and Leclerc, who were fighting over P2, really dropped down in the second stint of the race. And then Albon was your one and only retirement late on in the Grand Prix, and Logan Sargent was the final finisher of the day. And in the Drivers' Championship then, 2 from 2 for Max Verstappen, including the fastest lap. He has maximum points from the first 2 races. Alonso second in the drivers, Leclerc third, Lando fourth. We have moved up into P7 with that 3rd place after not scoring in Bahrain. And then after the first 2 races, there's still a lot of drivers still yet to score. And then in terms of the constructors, there's only really been one Red Bull in it so far this season. Perez hasn't really been anywhere, but a good strong result from us means we're only 10 points behind Red Bull. We're just 11 points clear of Ferrari. Alpine are the last team that have scored a point, and then RB, Sauber and Haas still yet to get on the board. Behind the scenes, Red Bull have open negotiations with us for a drive next season. They're clearly not happy with Sergio Perez and wanting to replace him with us, which, if we were going to Red Bull, we would be equal to Max. We're not sitting behind him and letting him win. I think they need to know that, Red Bull. Ultimately, the aim is to drive for Mercedes. We're a Mercedes junior since the career mode started, but they've got 2 quality drivers. There's not going to be any room for us to join that team in the short term. Long term, maybe, but I don't want to be waiting forever. So maybe a move away from the Mercedes program could be a wise move, but we're going to continue negotiations and we'll see what happens later on in the season. There's still a lot of racing to be done, and next time we go back to China for the first time since 2019 for what will be our first sprint weekend as well of the season. I'll see you then. Goodbye.